All right, what's going on, my friends? Now 3 o'clock. We start with the NBA. Multiple games in action tonight. Starting at 4:30 on TNT, the Celtics and Heat. Game 4 of that series. Boston with a 2-1 series lead. And the Celtics are favored by 10.5. 5:30 on NBA TV. The Thunder look to sweep the Pelicans in New Orleans. 5:30 tip. OKC favored by 4.5. And at 7 o'clock on TNT, the Lakers and Nuggets. Denver looking to end that series in 5. The Nuggets favored by 6.5. And no word on the status of Jamal Murray, who's dealing with a hamstring injury from the NFL. Travis Kelce got an extension from the Chiefs, 2 years and $34 million. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad is coming at you right now. Brad Botkin, CBS, talking NBA at 3:20. We'll go to Denver and talk with Brandon Cristal on Bo Nix at 4:20. And at 5:20, Felix Flex Cruz on the Code Blue in Phoenix. All right, nice work by Michael Shacker on the open today. What's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. I was able to make it out this weekend to play some golf.
No, really?
I found a couple of pockets where there was no rain.
Right.
I look at the hourly forecast this time of year, and if I see a pocket where I'm like, hey, I might be able to slide in there and,
And you
avoid
can get
some rain.
You can get a tea time just that quick.
I
You're
always book-
special.
No, this is how it works. I always book my tee times out ahead of time. So I fill everything up for the week to go out and play because you can't risk waiting too long to get a tee time.
Yeah.
And that way, if the weather hits and it's bad, I can just cancel the tee time. But no, I schedule a week out for my entire week because that way I have standing tee times. And if the weather ends up being crappy, then I can cancel it.
And they let you go a week ahead at city courses?
City courses, you can go a week out.
Yeah.
Most courses are like that. I don't know if your country club is different.
Used to be. Now it's like 3 or 4 days because too many people were canceling, not for weather reasons, just for other reasons, and it just kept people off the tee.
I don't have other reasons.
I know.
As to why I would cancel the tee time. Although on Saturday, check this out. I had a long day. I was down at Spirit Mountain Casino on Friday for the show, and then I did the drawing down there. Gave away $25,000 to one lucky lady. She was older, and she was a sweetheart, but I thought she was going to faint when she pulled out the golf club and realized that she had won $25,000. She got a little bit wobbly, but she was truly thrilled. I enjoyed seeing the pleasure wash across her face when she realized she just won 25 G's, so that was pretty fun.
Were you ready to catch her if she fell?
I was right there. It was either me or nobody, so I had no choice. And so that was cool. And I got home late, and I ate my dinner, and I was messing around with my daughter, and we were joking and talking and doing all this stuff. And so I got to bed late. But my plan was on Saturday, because the tee times had filled up so quickly, I got one at 6:40. And my plan was to go out and be one of the first people off so I could get done soon. I had a haircut on Saturday afternoon. But I didn't get to bed until late after a long day. And what happened is I woke up, hit my alarm, hit snooze, I thought, puppy shot, snuggled back in under the covers next to the small of my lower back. And next time I woke up, it was past my tea time. So I did not play golf. I slept. I overslept, but I think that's one of those moments where your body was like, look, Chad, you want to play golf, and you probably feel like you need to go out and play golf, but I'm going to shut you down to make sure that you don't do anything. So I
I'm surprised
took a day
the
off.
golf course didn't send police to your house on a welfare check because you never miss a tee time.
Yeah, I got a lot of flack when I went in the next day. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I overslept. So I did get out and play yesterday. It was nice. Conditions were good. Played with a couple of nice people. In fact, one of the guys I played with was the owner and chef at Le Pigeon here in Portland. One of the best restaurants. And year after year after year, it gets some of the best reviews. But it was cool to play with him. And it was funny because I didn't know who he was, and he didn't know who I was until we were on like hole 11. And I said something in a certain way. He goes, wait, are you Chad from the radio? I said, yes, I am. And so we shook hands, and he started asking me questions. I said, well, what do you do? And he told me what he did. I said, you got one of the best places in town, my friend. And so it was cool to get a chance to meet him. I got his number, and he agreed. He loves sports. He's like a P1. He listens to sports talk all the time.
Wow.
I said, we got to get you in studio to talk food because people care more about our food conversations than they do our sports conversations.
He's won a lot of awards for that restaurant.
Yes.
And by the way, I used to go there when they opened.
Yeah.
Because they did like 10 special hamburgers.
Yeah.
And you had to be one of the first people to order it or you didn't get it. So I would go early and stand in line and wait just to get in there and sit at the counter so you could watch them make the food and then get one of those burgers because they were great burgers.
Yeah, that was fun. In fact, what was it, last name? I think it was, let me see if I can find it here. Make sure I don't butcher this. Gabriel Rucker. That's his name. Had a chance to meet him. He was terrific. And I was like, we'll get you in studio soon and get a chance to talk some food with you.
Oh, gosh. People love that.
Yes. All right. I want to talk Bo Nix. I've had.
Why am I not shocked?
I know. Way too much time to sit back and think about Bo Nix. I pulled up a lot of highlight videos. I listened to every possible interview that you could imagine in regards to Bo Nix. I listened to his full press conference upon arrival, and I've been texting people that I have in Denver. One of the great things about living in Denver and having done a lot of fill-in work in Denver, I have a lot of friends in Denver who work in the biz. So they share their ideas with me or thoughts and stuff, and I enjoy it. You know, I still have no idea what Bo Nix is going to become, but Albert Breer from the Monday Morning Quarterback did a terrific write-up. It will take you like 5 hours to get through it all, but I have extra time early on a Monday morning after I drop Kaylee off at school. And he focused in not on the top three quarterbacks, but the next three. So he had a novel that he wrote up on J.J. McCarthy, on Michael Penix, and on Bo Nix.
Breer is one of the best, by the way. He's great.
Love him to death. He does great work. And his whole – so that way you go into the thought process and the story behind the team's process to arrive at the point where they're like, we're going to take that guy. But with Bo Nix, and a lot of these things I find fascinating, Godfather, the Broncos had interest in Nix early on. What I found out was what Breer pointed out is that two guys, Joel Klatt and then another analyst, I think one of the former quarterbacks that went to Missouri. I can't think of the guy off the top of my head right now. Longtime backup quarterback in the NFL, I think with the Chiefs. Anyways, they both came out early on in the process before the draft and identified Bo Nix as perfect fits for Sean Payton's offense. The Broncos immediately became concerned. They didn't want that out there.
Yeah.
And so they knew right away. They had a meeting, Payton and a few other guys within the front office and said, hey, we've got to make sure that we keep this on the down low. We have to make sure that we go out of our way to send smoke signals about who we like, even though it's not who we like, because they didn't want anybody to know, because what their hopes was to be able to get Nix by staying at 12. They didn't want to have to give up assets to be able to move up and get him. So that was their thought process.
So they started sending out smoke screens.
They did.
That was the JJ smoke screen.
The
right?
J.J. McCarthy smoke screen.
Yeah.
Bo Nix was not number one on their board, but he was higher than J.J.
Well, they knew they weren't going to get number 1 or 2 on their board.
That's
right?
correct, because of where they were drafting. They knew they didn't have enough to get up, and they knew that neither the Washington Commanders or the Chicago Bears were going to move. So they had this private meeting. They sent scouts to Nix's pro day, and he didn't have a good Senior Bowl. He struggled at the Senior Bowl, especially with the muddy pocket or whatever. But They ended up having their private workout. And what they did, which has been well publicized, is they sent 3 days worth of installs the day before. And the whole idea was to see how much Bo Nix could cram into his dome before they arrived. They wanted to see how he processed that type of information because that's the type of crap quarterbacks have to do all the time in the NFL. Well, they go through the verbal part of the meeting. It was like 2 hours plus before they got on the field to work. And according to what Breer reported, he handled the information extremely well. His dad played at Auburn, who's now a coach. His grandfather was a coach. They had heard that he was a football junkie, right? And from what Breer was explaining, that a lot of teams, they hear these things about guys because they talk to all these different people. And they really can't wait to get a chance to meet the quarterback to see if what they're hearing matches up with who the guy truly is.
Yeah, people want to, if they're friendly with him, they want to help him out.
Well, this one part of the meeting before they went to the field for workout, Nix is carrying around like this bag with him, right? And finally, Sean Payton's like, what's in the bag? And Nix is like, oh, this is my football bag. And he unzipped it, and he pulled out some tape for his ankles. He pulled out a ball that he uses to roll on to crack his back. Like everything he needs to go to the field and start throwing passes was in the bag. So that matched up perfectly with gym rat, football junkie type guy.
It's like that guy that carries the basketball around all the time.
Why are you carrying a basketball? It's because that's all I do. Like, who was it? Pistol Pete, right? He was the one dribbling the basketball outside
Never
the
know
car.
when you're going to find a game.
I love that. So that matched up with that. And then they got him on the field, and they put him through all the different things they wanted to see. They muddied up the pocket on purpose. Apparently, he wowed them with his footwork in the pocket. He made all the different throws, wowed them with the accuracy. And then what I love about this is that the Broncos, they're according to what Breer said, they're one of the biggest teams when it comes to analytics, heavy analytics. But what Sean Payton did, he's like, look, you do your work, your analytics on Bo. I don't want to know anything until I have a chance to do my evaluation, which is smart because a lot of times you can get contaminated by.
Yeah, of course.
And so when the Broncos had Nix and the other quarterbacks up on their board at the facility, they didn't rank them because they didn't want the other scouts and people to be polluted based on what they thought the other guys were thinking. They wanted the scouts to share their mind freely based on what they truly believed. Well, after Sean Payton had done his evaluation, the analytics matched up with what Payton believed. And the analytics, just the numbers, pointed out that he was the best quarterback in the draft, even more so than Caleb Williams, just based on the analytics alone.
Whoa.
Then what they did with Nix, because he threw a lot of screen passes and short passes, is they wanted to eliminate those from his sample size and just focus on the stuff down the field. And what they found out their godfather was impressive in terms of the numbers side of things. This is what Breer wrote. To combat the fair criticism the Knicks came from such a screen, quick game, heavy offense, they eliminated throws tagged as givens from the evaluation as they did with all quarterbacks. From there, Payton and Payton, their other Payton is George Payton, their GM, got extensive, expansive advanced stats that elevated Nix above his peers. He was first in 2-minute drills, needing points, end of half, 2-minute drills, critical fourth quarter, 2-minute drives, fourth quarter, 2-minute, and importantly, negative play differential. He was second to Rattler in red zone passing. So when they removed all the givens, they found out that he ranked at top or near the top in those throws.
That's amazing. Really?
Yes. Then once they were looking to trade back, but once Penix was taken, they knew that they weren't going to be able to trade back and still have access to Nix, so they made the decision to take him at 12. A lot of people think that 12 for Nix was a reach, but of course, if he is the guy that Payton thinks he's going to be, no one's going to give a rat's ass where you drafted Bo Nix.
Mm-hmm. You don't care now, do you? Now that you know all this info?
If he turns out to be what Payton thinks he's going to be, I don't care where you draft him. You got your guy. I still don't know what he's going to become, but I am definitely on board with the process they're going to put him through to get him to that point. Meaning, Bo Nix should be very thrilled that he landed in a spot with a good owner, a very smart offensive-minded quarterback guru head coach that's going to give him every chance to succeed. This is not Joey Harrington winding up in Detroit. This is, if you're a quarterback, you wound up in a good spot because you're going to get elite teaching and coaching to make sure you can get to the level where they need you to be.
Hopefully they protect him. They run a scheme that suits his talents. If that happens, he could end up being pretty good, Chad.
All right, we'll come back. We got to talk NBA. Brad Bakken, CBS Sports, love him to death. Hasn't been on the show in a while. And we're going to dig in on some of the meaty stuff that's going on in the playoffs. A lot of drama right now. Injuries, chaos. Matt Ishbia might be crazy. A lot of good stuff in the NBA. Brad Botkin's up next. All right, 3 games on tap tonight in the NBA playoffs. 4:30 on TNT, Celtics and Heat. 5:30 on NBA TV, Thunder and Pelicans, and then the Lakers and Nuggets coming up at TNT on 7 o'clock. Joining us right now is one of the guys who does it so well. He is with CBS Sports. Brad Botkin is back on the show. Brad, long time no chat. It's great to talk hoop with you, my friend. Is Frank Vogel going to be the fall guy in Phoenix?
Usually that's the way it goes, right? I'm not even necessarily sure that he doesn't deserve some of it. Coaches are easy to scapegoat, but, to me, you have to look at the flaws of that team, which proved to be fatal. And to some degree, maybe Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they prefer to play this way. But that team's shot diet is 20 years antiquated. There is no way, even with two of the best mid-range players to ever live, there is just no way to survive on that difficult of a shot diet in today's game. They shoot contested mid-range jumper after contested mid-range jumper. They don't get to the rim. They don't shoot threes. You just can't survive that way, particularly against a smothering defensive team in Minnesota. They've got multiple guys that can really make life difficult on a scorer, even the caliber of Durant or Booker with Nikhil Alexander-Walker. Anthony Edwards is a lockdown defender on ball. We know about Jaden McDaniels. They have size with Karl Anthony Towns bothering Durant to some degree. So when you're going up against these types of defenders, to me, some sort of offense has to be instituted where you can rely on the system to some degree to create opportunities for you. Because if you're just rolling the ball out there and saying, hey, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, go create shots against smothering defense. And again, I think some of that Durant prefers to play that way. I think some of that factored into him leading Golden State. He likes that more 80s, 90s style of basketball. But it's not the way you win in today's game. And to some degree, I wonder if Frank Vogel, if he even has the offensive chops to go in and make that kind of overhaul. But realistically, that's the only thing that can change the fortunes of the Suns next year. I think they don't have any draft picks. They don't have any cap space. All that can happen is if their team, as currently constructed, sort of changes. And the only way I think you can do that is to some degree shot diet.
Brad, that's a great question. And I was going to ask you, what kind of options do the Suns have to get better? Obviously, everybody knows about their draft picks and their cap space. Would they trade Durant, do you think?
Well, it's sort of coming to that point. I think it's kind of like the nuclear button, because you just said it. They don't control any of their own draft picks for the rest of the decade. Either swap or outright trade. They don't have any of them. So there's really no way to tank, because you're going to swap it out to the teams you owe those to, or you're losing it in a trade outright. And they don't have any assets. They are also way over the second luxury tax line. They're way into the penalty. What does that mean? That means they can't aggregate salaries in a trade. That makes life very difficult when you're going for home run moves. And they don't have access to a mid-level exception player. What does that mean? That means all they can get is minimum players. They literally can't trade any draft picks. They can't sign any players other than minimum players. So other than the nuclear option of blowing it up or running it back with the same team, there's nothing they can do. They have put all their eggs into this super team basket, and that is an era gone by in the NBA. Teams are too deep now, too talented, and too aware of how important fit is for just three big-name players to go out there and roll over teams on pure talent. It doesn't work. The Suns aren't deep enough. They don't play enough defense. And frankly, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are too redundant. They don't make life easier on one another. They both play the same style of basketball. They are both hunting for the same shots. They both occupy the same spots on the floor to some degree, or to a large degree. And so this was just a fantasy team. This was, let's go out and throw three big names together and take all of our salary, all of our draft assets, all of our young players, and Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, and dump them all. And if you're going to do that, it better work, and it has not worked.
We're talking with Brad Botkin, CBS Sports, here on the Rip City Drive. Do the Lakers have a shot tonight if Murray doesn't play?
Yeah, they got a shot if Murray does play. The Lakers have led like 3 times as many minutes in this series as the Nuggets have. I mean, I think the Nuggets have showed a little bit of crack in their title defense. I don't know how much of it is they're kind of on autopilot until the fourth quarter. But, yeah, the Lakers have had a double-digit lead, I believe, in every game. I believe they've led after the first quarter of every game. They've led at halftime of 2 of the games. As long as they keep their pace up late, that's really what's killed them in this series is they just haven't been able to keep their pace up into the fourth quarter. And if it comes down to slow, methodical execution, the Nuggets are going to beat you. But when they're beating the Nuggets up and down the court and attacking early in the shot clock, they've actually, I think I would err on saying they've been the better team in this series when they're playing like that. So they've dug too deep of a hole. No team in history has come back from 3-0. But any singular game, heck yeah, they have a chance.
Okay, I'm going to skip to another series, Brad. The god-awful Pelicans. Where do they go from here? Should they run it back, or is it time to think about moving Zion? What would you do there?
No, I don't think it's time to move Zion. I think it's time to move Brandon Ingram. We just talked about fit, and those guys do not fit. Brandon Ingram wants to play Kevin Durant style basketball.
Yeah.
And you can't do that with Zion because Zion's not a floor spacer, and so you're completely neutralizing all the talents that he has as sort of a point guard. Really, the way when they're popping, that's the way they use him. They give him the ball, and he can get downhill. And he converges a defense like really nobody else in the NBA, and that needs to be the core of their team. You need 4 shooters around him, bottom line, not other slow Julius Randle type half-court creators, which is what Brandon Ingram is. I mean, guys who are ready to shoot. Your Trey Murphys, Herb Jones has turned into one of those guys. C.J. McCollum is, I think, a guy that needs to stick around. Brandon Ingram is the guy that's got the cachet on the market, or at least to some degree, and I think you go get what you can get for him, and you build a team around Zion Williamson in the mold that you would around a young LeBron James. He is an overpowering physical force. He is guaranteed to get into the paint virtually at will, so put 4 shooters around him. Don't complicate it. Nobody else that needs to control the ball for large quantities of the shot clock. Guys who are ready to shoot, guys who are ready to defend, and let Zion get into the paint and wreak havoc with a proper supporting cast. But why they're losing this series, one, they're missing Zion, but 2, Ingram and your guy McCollum have just not shown up. If they had any chance in this series, they needed McCollum and Ingram to just be elite lights-out shot creators, and they have not been that. They've actually been very bad, both of them. And if you got Zion Williamson out and you're trying to keep up with a super, super talented Thunder team with your 2 shot creators not doing anything, you're going to be on the verge of getting swept.
Hey, Brad, you mentioned Minnesota and their length and the defense that they play. Dwight and I have been impressed with them throughout the course of the season. How do they match up potentially with the Nuggets in that next round?
They match up really as good as anyone. I wrote this before the playoffs started. They match up on paper with the Nuggets as good as any team in the league, and here's why. Because they play so big. You know, most teams have to waste their big man or else go super small, like on Nikola Jokic. So, like the Lakers, let's throw Rui Hachimura on it, but it's a total mismatch. But when you've got the bigs that you have in Karl Anthony Towns, Gobert, and Naz Reid, you don't have to utilize Gobert on Jokic. Now Gobert can go and play on a guy like Aaron Gordon, and he can sag off to some degree, and he can be that roaming rim protector. And that's a huge, huge, huge matchup advantage that for 48 minutes, the Timberwolves have the size. And Karl Anthony Towns, he has a bad reputation defensively. He's committed. And if you've watched any of his individual matchups with Jokic this year, he's banging chests with him. And he's at least providing a physical force in front of Jokic. And it allows Rudy Gobert to roam off the ball and be a rim protector. And I'll tell you what, when you got Rudy Gobert roaming around, cleaning up all the mess, and you've got that kind of perimeter pressure with Naz Reid and Anthony Edwards, Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels, and even Mike Conley, when you're putting that kind of pressure on the ball, because you know that you have Rudy Gobert on the backside roaming, it is a massive matchup advantage for them to have a second big that they don't have to waste their main big on Nikola Jokic, and then it just becomes the same old blueprint. If you only have one big, Jokic goes out to the three-point line, he pulls your rim protector away, and you have driving lanes. But that's not the case with Minnesota. He can pull Towns out, he can pull Reed out. Gobert's still back there, and they match up really well because of that.
All right, let's skip to this one now. I've been impressed with OKC, and I think they've had a chance to give their young players a chance to get their playoff footing. Will they have a problem with either the Clippers or the Mavericks, whoever survives that series?
Brad. That's unbelievable. The black hole sucked up Brad Botkin. He does live down in Florida. He's a Florida man.
Anything can happen in Florida.
He's got a lot of issues down there with the wildlife. I hope one of those pythons or gators on the loose didn't get a hold of him. It's pretty scary down there. And he's got that lizard problem. They get on the house and create all the issues and stuff.
Lizards on the roof.
He's got all sorts of issues going on down there. I would not surprise me if Botkin, he just got eaten by an alligator on air. That was his very last interview.
Chad.
I'm just saying, man, there's a lot of crazy stuff down there. You know, because was it you and Kerry Agers?
Yeah.
All right. Brad Botkin is back. We were afraid that you fell victim to one of the pythons or gators on the loose down there in Florida.
It's iguanas nowadays, dude. I know we've talked about this before, but I've got one in my sights.
That's awesome. No, I was going to tell you that I was informed that there was a guy who was hauling. This just happened yesterday up on I-90 just outside of Seattle. There was a guy hauling zebras, and he got in a wreck, and the zebras are now on the loose. And I'm like, what are people doing with zebras?
Oh, my God, what are the odds? Okay, so when I was a kid, there was a book, my favorite book. I loved this book. It got assigned to me in like the 5th grade.
Ice Station Zebra.
It was called The Summer of the Monkeys. And the same thing happened. It was like a circus train that crashed, and all the monkeys got loose. And there was this kid like in the Ozarks that was trapping monkeys because there was a reward for each of the monkeys. And I loved that book. Oh my God, that's totally cool.
Hey, there's nothing more fun than a barrel of monkeys, as they used to say. Brad, let me ask that last question again. OKC's had a chance to get their young guys to a little playoff footing in that walkover. It seems to be walkover against New Orleans. How will they do against the winner of the Clips and the Mavs?
Fine. I would favor them against either team.
Yeah.
Listen, if you haven't been watching OKC this year, forget about that whole lazy, low-hanging fruit experience tag. I mean, give me talent, give me two-way versatility. Just as we were talking about the size and the physical force of Minnesota, to some degree, really to a large degree, OKC brings the same thing to the table. You've got an elite rim protector in Chet Holmgren, and you've got 3 or 4 guys on the perimeter who make life a living hell for any kind of perimeter score. Okay, we're talking about Lou Dort. This guy is a brick wall. Okay, he's making life difficult. When we talk about why is McCollum, why is Ingram, why are they having these tough series? Well, you've got guys like Jalen Williams and Lou Dort.
Yeah.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is rangy, athletic, led the league in steals, I believe. And then this guy off the bench, Cason Wallace, you just don't get a break. And that's what's winning these days. You know, I've wanted to look into this for a while, but ball pressure kind of went by the wayside for a while in the NBA, and all the rage was switching versatility. Everybody wanted a defender in the mold of Ben Simmons because they can guard 1 through 5. But if you actually really watched, say, a guy like Ben Simmons, there is value in being able to switch everything. It mucks up a lot of action. But if you actually watched him one-on-one, he's beatable no matter who he switches onto. If you look at like the Celtics this year, Derek White, Drew Holiday, they're not beatable. They're making your life a living hell.
Yeah.
The Bucks won the championship in 2021 because Drew Holiday made Chris Paul's life a living hell at the point of attack. And that is what these defenders are doing these days. When you can smother the ball and get the shot clock at 10 seconds before they can even get into their actions, we're seeing it with the Knicks and the Sixers. If you watch the last 5 minutes of Game 4 the other day, the Sixers couldn't even get it. Joel Embiid's still standing in the corner with 10 seconds on the shot clock because Brunson and DiVincenzo and these guys provide so much ball pressure that it takes a long time to get into an offensive set, and that's coming back. That's really coming back in the NBA. Used to be that's what defense was checking your own guy. Make, the old Hoosiers thing. Tell me what flavor his gum is by the end of the game. These guys are in their shorts, and OKC brings that in spades. Everywhere you go, they are crowding your space, and if you are lucky enough to get by them, they have an elite shot protector in Chet Holmgren, and then they have elite shot creation. In the playoffs, Game 3, Game 4, Game 5, these teams become so well scouted that your system doesn't necessarily create so many opportunities for you. You need guys who can just go beat their guy one-on-one. Who better than SGA to just go create a one-on-one bucket, and then everybody has to help on him. They converge. They have shooters all around him. I think they led the league in three-point percentage. So they have all the makings. They have the elite shot creator. They have the shooting for the spacing, and they have the two-way switchable on-ball pressure defense with the elite rim protector behind them. I think this team is ready to compete for a title this year. I really do.
All right, Brad, we appreciate the time, man. Great breakdown. I'm going to go round up a zebra for you, and I'm going to ship it down to you. It will be fun for the whole family. I promise.
Okay, listen. Let me ask you guys a question. Does the sponsor of your show happen to be Topo Chico sparkling water?
No, but I love Topo Chico.
Okay, listen, Dwight. Let me give you a little heads up here.
Right.
So I've been chugging Topo Chico because I think
It's the best.
Okay, listen. I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing my part. I'm getting healthy. I'm drinking like 7 or 8 of these things a day. It's like an alternative to soda. And I'm thinking everyone says 8 cups of water a day. That's always been the rule of thumb. I'm going to drink 8 of these things a day. So I've had like 75 Topo Chicos in the last month. I've been just drilling these things, right? So I look it up on the internet last time. I'm like, is this too good to be true? Is it really like just regular water? And so I start reading about the acidity in it. It's got a ton of acidity, especially the lime and lemon flavor. The citrus one says it's really bad on your teeth. Last night, dude, my tooth cracked in half. I'm walking around with half. Dude, I'm walking around with half a tooth right now. I got a dentist appointment at 2:30 tomorrow, and the culprit is Topo freaking Chico. I'm telling you, my tooth didn't just crack out of nowhere.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm not laughing at you, Brad. I'm laughing at the situation. That is hilarious.
I'm telling you, look, go when you get off the air, go look up the damage this stuff's doing. We can't have anything good in life, even water.
No kidding. No
Like
kidding.
anything you think you've discovered that's like, oh, this is awesome. No, it's going to screw you up some way.
I started drinking it in Mexico. It's really good.
I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's staring at me in my fridge right now. Like I want to chug one, and I'm going to be walking around like a meth head.
What did your wife say?
Dude, she just get off the Topo Chico. Like she's laughing at me. I don't do anything in moderation. So
Welcome
I'm
to the
like
club.
binging Topo Chico, and it's going to cost me a tooth.
Oh, God.
That's an incredible story. You're the best, man.
All right, guys.
There you go. All
Thanks,
right.
Brad.
That's your public service announcement for the day.
I
Stay
gotta
away from the Topo
stop
Chico.
Topo Chico. Oh, man. Tastes so good, too.
And that's too bad because, there is a benefit to having the citrus fruits too. There are benefits from that. Too much of anything, man. All right, we have a chance for you to go check out the Portland Thorns right now. You can call 503-248-0620. They take on the Washington Spirit May 4th at Providence Park. So that's coming up in a few days. Call now. First caller through gets a 4-pack of tickets for the Portland Thorns. 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Call now, and you can get a 4-pack of tickets for the Portland Thorns. All right, Miranda has chimed in. I also got a postcard from her from Montana, which was very nice.
Uh-oh.
Dear Skunk Vomit, good afternoon, Mr. Doing. What is the opinion in Chadville this week with regard to Nurkic? As I recall, from 2017 through 2021, you were pretty much lactating when he was the topic. Didn't you even write lyrics to go with a putrid Bee Gees song? Lyrics praising Nurkic. Then something changed around 21. Seems like when Nurkic was the discussion of topic, your response was to evacuate your bowels on his career. So are you blaming Nurkic for the fact that the Suns got swept? You used to defecate on Eubanks as well, and then you got quiet about him. Have you have you renewed your hatred for him? Was he a co-contributor to the Suns sweep? Please let the cut under your nose bleed. Warmest regards, Miranda. So there you go. She still wants me to die.
Yeah.
Nurkic, it's like any type of new love in your life, right? You, in the beginning, you experienced great things. Nurkic fever was terrific.
Yeah.
And he was a much-needed boost to the team. But what happens with a lot of loves is over time you realize that you don't like the way that they maybe suck on their teeth or the noises they make when they're sleeping at night. There's all sorts of things that begin to irritate you. With Nurk, it was the field goal percentage, the pouting, and the lack of availability in the lineup. That's about it.
Yeah, and I would say more so than almost any other player I've seen, Nurkic walked in the door being a very good player.
Yeah.
We never really saw that again.
Yeah.
Did we? I mean, it just seems like we saw the best of him right at the start, and then it just kind of went downhill from there.
And then he had that stretch right before the gruesome leg injury where he was playing terrific.
Yeah.
And then we just never we kept waiting for that next step, and it never happened. So, and, with new information, I have a right to change the way I see things, Miranda, as I'm sure you do.
If you didn't, people would brand you as inflexible.
Yes. Now, in Miranda's defense, she has not changed her view on me in 25 years. I was terrible 25 years ago. I was terrible 12 years ago, and I still suck. There's nothing I can do. She's been very consistent.
Responsible for that sign over your left shoulder that says, I've got Nurk fever. And Chris Burkhardt got so tired of it that he changed it to Burke fever.
Yes. None of us in here right now have Burke fever, I can tell you that much. All right. Tonight, your favorite baseball team, the Braves, are playing up in Seattle, getting ready to start a set against the Mariners. And it's a good pitching matchup tonight with Fried and Miller on the bump. What are you looking for here in this one?
Well, it's going to be a good series. And what you always see with the Mariners is great pitching. Their pitching this year is just lights out. Chad.
Might be the best in the majors.
Oh, yeah, real good chance of that. Their starting pitching particularly. They come up with kids that throw hard, get the ball over the plate. I mean, if they could just score some runs. And I know my friends that are Mariner fans, it drives them crazy. When are you going to make a move to add some punch to your lineup? They just can't score enough runs. And basically, they don't hit enough home runs. You've got to hit more home runs. You got to get a big bopper in there. They've allowed other guys to be signed to other teams that could have really helped them. And they don't seem to want to give up any of their minor league talent to get that big bopper they need. And so we're going to see the same thing again. Now, they're actually in first place in their division by a little bit, but it's only because the Astros and the Rangers have gotten off to a terrible start. If they're not careful, the A's are going to – the A's are not bad given all they've gone through. They just got done taking well, I can't say it because Michael Schacker's the A's family fan, and he hasn't caught up on all the games, so he told me not to say anything. But I think they split a series in New York. They went to Baltimore and did good things. And they're good. They have the best reliever in the game. The A's do. Guy throws 103.
That's fast.
Get out of here with that stuff.
You watch the A's games too, Shacker? I thought you were just a Giant guy.
Yeah, I like to watch the A's and Giants, but there's just so many games playing every day, and I don't watch it every day. So I was still watching the A's-Yankees series over the weekend.
Shacker's a true sports junkie.
But, yes, his DVR has got to be all loaded up all the time.
Yeah, it's the website. I'm an MLB subscriber.
I respect that.
Yeah.
All right. Also, after the see-through lingerie, new pants, where we got a chance to see what was going on down yonder with a variety of different players and a number of jersey malfunctions, it sounds like MLB is going to step in. They're going to make some changes to the new jerseys from Nike. And
The way it was discovered is they sent a letter out to the major league players telling them what they plan to do. They also put all the blame on Nike, not on anybody else, not the people who manufactured them or anybody else. They are almost immediately going to try and go in and get the lettering on the uniform enlarged back to where they used to be. I've noticed now, Chad, where they have the name on the back of the player, unless you're right up close to them, you can't read it. It's too small. And the name on the front isn't as big as it used to be. They got to fix that. And then they're going to go in and fix the pants. Some of it may not get done until next season, apparently. For what reason, I don't know. Come on now. You can get stuff done quick. You probably just don't want to pay for it. But players hate the new stuff.
Yeah.
Just hate it.
Well, I'm for whatever is going to give us less crank shots throughout the course of a Major League Baseball game.
Well, not only that, the uniform tops
Yeah.
show the perspiration through. It's like 2 innings into a game and the pitcher's just drenched.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Fanatics was the other company that's working with Nike, so Nike took the blame.
For Fanatics, yeah,
Okay.
they did for sure. Yeah.
All right, good. So we're making progress there in the uniform department.
Yeah.
And with the majors right now, it's so early in the season. When do you start to really take a look at the standings to where it means something, Godfather? Right now, the Yankees still atop in the East, a game over Baltimore. Cleveland leads the AL Central. Seattle, a half game in front of Texas in the West, 2 games over 500. Braves, 1.5 games up on the Phillies in the East. In the Central, it's the Brewers. The Dodgers, of course, 3.5 games up on the Giants in the West. When do the standings start to mean something to you?
I think in baseball you need a couple months because the schedules finally even out after a couple of months. And some of these teams have not played a real top-flight schedule so far, and some of them have played very difficult schedules. So that's what you need. You also need a little time for the pitching staffs to kind of find their way. The Braves have been winning without their best pitcher. I don't expect that to last. They're getting good performances out of some guys that they didn't expect. So we'll see. Takes time. I love the Phillies in the NL East. I think they're going to win that division.
The one thing I'm certain of without a large sample size, the Marlins and Rockies suck.
Oh, man. Marlins are terrible, and so are the Rockies. It's disgraceful.
Very disgraceful. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. At 4:20, we're going to head to Denver and talk Bo Nix with Brandon Cristal. And when we come back, we'll dive into the NBA playoffs, the Sixers and Knicks. How about Nick Nurse going Tom Thibodeau? We'll talk about the Pacers and Bucks. Anyone going to play any defense? And what about the Mavs and Clippers? That's next on the Rip City Drive, including another 4-pack of tickets for the Thorns. Listen to us for your chance to win. All right, 4 o'clock chat here, NBA playoffs, 4:30 on TNT. Celtics at the Heat. Boston leads the series 2-1. They're favored by 10.5. 5:30 on NBA TV. The Thunder at the Pelicans. OKC looking for a sweep. They're favored by 4.5. At 7 on TNT. Lakers at the Nuggets, Game 5. Denver leads that series 3-1. Jamal Murray questionable. Denver right now favored by 6.5. From the NFL, Travis Kelce got an extension from the Chiefs, 2 years and $34 million. From the NHL, Kraken have fired Dave Hackstall after 3 seasons, missing the playoffs this year. And from boxing, the July 20th bout between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson will be classified as a sanctioned professional fight by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations. We're going to head to Denver at 4:20 and talk with Brandon Cristal and focus in on Bo Nix. More of the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad coming at you right now. All right, your chance to win is right now. The Portland Thorns will be taking on the Washington Spirit May 4th at Providence Park. If you'd like to go and get a 4-pack of tickets, courtesy of your Portland Thorns, call now, 503-248-0620. The first caller through to Michael Shacker, the A's and Giants fan, will get a 4-pack of tickets for the Thorns. 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. If you'd like a 4-pack of tickets for the Thorns and Spirit May 4th at Providence Park, just fire away right now. 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. All right, Godfather. The Knicks and Sixers has provided some of the best content, I think, in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Are you surprised at the physicality in this series that we've seen so far through the 4 games?
I'm not surprised by it because I've grown to expect that from Tom Thibodeau coach teams. I mean, that's the way they want to play the game.
He demands it.
Well, and they make you play that way. I mean, if you don't play that way, you can't survive against those guys. And so when both teams are playing that way, the officials tend to just, as long as it's just give and take and one team's not beating up on the other one, they let it go. So you're seeing a lot of real, very physical battles on the boards, even defensively, just on the perimeter. You got to fight your way free. And it's been an entertaining series. I'd kind of hope that the Sixers would tie it up and we'd see a little longer series. But
I feel like Josh Hart was created by God just for Coach Thibodeau.
Oh, he's perfect for him. He plays hard. He's not afraid to get in and be physical with other guys. He's a great rebounder, doesn't need to score. He doesn't seem to need the ball. He's just there to make plays.
Man, Joel Embiid, the Sixers, they've still been a plus when he's been on the floor. He's been terrific, but it looks like in that last game he might have ran out of gas. What'd you see from Joel Embiid?
Yeah, he just played him too many minutes. And Nick Nurse has seen the analytics on this. As long as Embiid has been on the floor in this series, the Sixers have outscored the Knicks. But when he's not on the floor, it's a big disparity. They just have to have him. So as a coach, the tendency is just like, do we want to lose another game or, take a chance?
How do you resist that temptation as a coach?
Well, I don't think you do. I think you have to take a chance, leave him out and see what happens. It hasn't been good in any of the games, though. He's been bad in the fourth quarter of all the games. I think his shooting percentage in the fourth quarter has been like 10%. It's just been awful.
Yeah.
And so you just can't do it to him, especially now when he's not 100%. His knees obviously bothering him, and he's been a warrior. He's shown me more, Chad, than I actually thought he had, really.
Yeah. This is one of those series where I'm going to walk away and I look at Embiid totally different now.
I agree.
He's always been one of those guys, load manage, and I felt like he was maybe a little bit soft in his approach to playing, but this series has changed the way I view him. He's been grinding and playing big minutes, and he's not 100%. And he had the game a couple of games ago where he scored 50. Like, he's impressed the heck out of me. This is one of those series, it feels like to me, though, that if you're Nick Nurse, like, it wouldn't be a hard sell to your team. Like, look, we've been right there. We have a chance to get back into this series. We just have to do the little things better, meaning getting to the loose balls, rebounding better, keeping New York off the offensive glass. Like, if they were to do some of those dirty work type things, they can get right back into this series, even though they're going back to New York for Game 5.
Yeah, I got to say, too, he's done a good coaching job. He's a lot better coach than what they've had there.
Oh,
and I
no
think
question.
if they can keep players healthy, they need to add a little more three-point shooting. I think, too, and I know Embiid doesn't want to do this. They've got to get him down closer to the basket. They can't. I don't think he really can help them as much as a three-point shooter as he can down by the basket. That's why they're getting hurt on the boards.
Look at how many shots have been short that he's put up because he doesn't have the legs for it. They need him down low.
Unfortunately, they don't have enough three-point shooters. And as we've seen in the playoffs, Exhibit A being Phoenix, you're just not going to win without three-point shooting.
No, in fact, it was the Knicks' three-point shooting in Game 1 when Josh Hart caught fire from downtown. The three-point game can change things in a hurry. In fact, I think it was the Clippers who had the big lead yesterday. All it takes is a stretch where you miss a bunch of threes and the other team gets hot. You can make up ground like never before in the NBA because of how prevalent the three-point shot is.
Yeah, you're seeing teams routinely down by 20 in the first half, able to catch up because they can make threes.
All right. Milwaukee in a tough spot right now because Dame and Giannis are both banged up. And it's unfortunate for them because the Pacers, as much as I like their offense, they don't defend. What's going on there? Do you not care about defense at all?
Well, Rick Carlisle knows how to coach, and I think he's committed to a running game because that's what they had to do offensively to win.
Yeah.
And he's going to worry about the defense on the run, kind of, and they need to cure that next season. They can't continue to play this way. In the playoffs, it's so much more critical. You catch a team on an odd Thursday night in the regular season, you can just outrun them, and there's not much.
That's right.
Yeah, they're not going to do anything about it. But in the playoffs, when there's rest in between games, when teams have a chance to get that scouting book filled up 2 inches thick, you can't play that way. They're lucky to be ahead in that series. They were even lucky to win when Dame and Giannis on the sidelines in the last game, because people forget the Bucks aren't like the Blazers were when they lost Dame. The Bucks have Lopez in the middle who can block shots and who can make shots, and then they have Middleton who was it Game 3 was unconscious from
That was
deep.
a great game. That was a phenomenal game.
Phenomenal game. And he was hitting contested threes really big.
You're right. The Knicks are a perfect example where in the playoffs, you're going up against teams that, for the most part, defend really well.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have a stretch where you go 5 or 6 minutes without a field goal. So the question is, when you have that drought offensively, what else can you lean on? The Knicks, they're like, okay, we're just going to grab every loose ball, rebound the heck out of it, and we're going to defend until we start getting our shots back.
And Thibodeau's teams have gotten better at running off those rebounds and those turnovers. When he was earlier in his coaching career, they just walked the ball up all the time. They were really dull. They're better now, and they play a little bit faster. They're not totally trying to run the shooting clock down every time they have the ball.
All right, Clippers and Mavericks evened up after 4 games, each team winning on the other team's home court. How do you see the rest of this series playing out?
Yeah, I think this is a tough one, Chad, because I'm not seeing a series that I'm really enjoying. Both teams have real off games, and I don't like that. It seems like you're winning because the other team's bad rather than you're good. I mean, that last game between the two, my goodness, the Mavericks were just horrible at this. They were down like 31 points in the first half. I mean, you just can't be that bad. They were at home. What happens? But, Luka's getting his triple-double, but maybe not very efficient. He's needing a lot of shots to get his points. I mean, Kyrie Irving has been spectacular. That finish he had at the basket against 3 shot blockers in that game, that's one of the best finishes you'll ever see in your life. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I think one of the shames that we're seeing so far in the playoffs, too, and you and I knew this could possibly be a factor, but one of the big issues, Godfather, has been the injuries across the board to the superstar players.
Yeah.
New Orleans doesn't have Zion. We have a situation now where Kawhi's been in and out for the Clippers. Issues elsewhere. Obviously, Jamal Murray might not play tonight for Denver, which stinks. And then you've got these issues over here with the Sixers. Joel Embiid's not 100%. Milwaukee's missing both Dame and Giannis. I mean, just go up and down the line. Miami without Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, Kawhi is not I mean, he's not playable. I don't think he'll play the rest of the series.
It sucks. I
Yeah.
like the stars out there getting a chance to play.
Well, and I was going to ask Brad Botkin if we'd had the time. He'd like to see them build around Zion. And I would just say, are you sure you want to invest your future in building around a guy who doesn't seem to play half the games for you throughout his entire career? He's not playing half their games. I guess you go all in on him, but man, that's tough.
It's dicey. He did play, I think, 72 games this year.
This was the biggest year he's had, and then he gets hurt in the playoffs.
Yeah. So the problem is that he's so good and the talent is so tantalizing that it would be hard to walk away from.
Yeah.
But I like his idea. It's like, hey, move on from Ingram and just go all in on Zion
Yeah.
and see if he can stay healthy, but at least structure everything. He's obviously their best player. Structure it to where he has a chance in the space to move and get to the paint and do what he does best.
Yeah.
He was fun to watch this year when healthy. Good
Oh, yeah.
gracious.
Yeah. He was in better shape than usual, too.
Yeah, that was my biggest problem with Zion early is that he was fat.
Well, unless that changed, Chad, I don't think he was ever going to be the player he was supposed to be.
No, he's got to keep the weight. That's going to be an ongoing battle for him to keep the weight down to where he can remain healthy.
It's going to be the number one story of every training camp that he's in. Did he report in shape?
That's the key. That is the key. In fact, who was it? He can't take the approach like, Shaq has said it on record multiple times where, he used the summertime to relax and enjoy himself, and then he would use the camp and the first part of the season to get himself into playing shape. Like Zion can't do that because he's going to risk injury.
Well, and Shaq, being a center, a post-up center in those days, he didn't need that physical condition that Zion needs. Zion's an up-and-down player.
Explosive player.
Yeah, very explosive, who's quick. He needs all of that to do what he does.
All right, when we come back on the Rip City Drive, we got to talk more Bo Nix. My new favorite topic, Godfather.
Yes.
How many Duck fans are now Denver Bronco fans?
Well, and Duck fans, you better start tuning in because Chad's going to make Bo Nix a very familiar topic for you.
Whether I want to be or not, I'm now obsessed with Bo Nix, as is Sean Payton and everyone else in Bronco land because they need him to work out, Godfather.
Yeah, they do.
We'll get to it at 5. I want to know if you think he should start day 1.
Okay.
All right, Brandon Cristal will join us next, and then we'll talk to our main man from Phoenix, Felix Flex Cruz. I texted him earlier today. I'm like, are you dealing with the code blue down there? He goes, 100%. It's a mess down there in Phoenix land right now with the Suns.
And he was pretty high on his Suns.
And as Brad pointed out, they have one option, the nuclear option. Trade Durant or bring everything back and sign minimum guys and see if you can find a way to get those guys to play a different brand of basketball.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, we'll come back. We'll talk Bo Nix. Did Sean Payton get his guy? All right, our next guest does a terrific job covering Denver sports. He is with 850 KOA on X at BK Denver Sports. My pleasure to welcome Brandon Cristal to the Rip City Drive. Brandon, good afternoon, man. It's great to have you on the show. Thank you.
Hey, Chad, Dwight, happy to join you. Just be forewarned, I'm scrambling a bit to head down to Nuggets pregame. So we snuck up to Breckenridge for a night and now sneaking back after all the draft coverage. So if you hear rustling or toddlers, don't take offense.
No, I won't. No problem. How was the snow up at Breckenridge?
You know what? We had a little spring storm that reminded me a couple years ago when the draft day 3 had Carl Mecklenburg and David Bruton up at Red Rock. And it was a full-blown blizzard in late April. And I immediately go, well, they're never going to have the draft in Denver because you could have 80 degrees and sunshine, which is pretty close to what we have today. We could have a blizzard. So the snow, even though it's closing weekend on Peak 8 at Breck and a couple of mountains are still open, it's been getting a pretty steady flow of spring snow. So it's actually been kind of nice.
That's great, man. I miss the spring skiing in Denver. That is awesome. Brandon Cristal is with us. All right. Do you think Bo Nix was a reach at 12 for the Broncos?
Well, I guess it depends on who you trust, right? There's plenty of people that said, including Todd McShay, said nobody else had a first-round grade on him. Well, I just don't think that's true based on the people I've talked to. At 12, was that higher than a lot of people envisioned him? Maybe. But the draft boards are skewed anyway, right? So whether it's Mel Kiper or Jeff Legwold or Daniel Jeremiah, their top 100 is based on just the eye test. But not every position is equal, right? We may have had the best kicker in the history of college football, right, that made 100 field goals and 200 extra points. And so you say he can't miss, right? The next Justin Tucker, but even better. Well, they're still not going to be rated that high, even if they're the third best prospect because they're the best kicker in the history of the world. So the weight of the position changes those ratings. Based on everything you're hearing about Bo Nix, and most importantly that Sean Payton not only believes in him, but is clearly staking his reputation and perhaps part of his legacy on who Bo Nix is and who he thinks he can become playing for him, then I think that you have to say, was it a reach? I guess based on some people's boards, but you can say the same thing. Lots of people didn't have Patrick Mahomes number 10 in that class, and that would have been 9 spots too low in respect, right? So I think it's a little silly to worry about what everybody else thinks. If the team that drafted him, and everyone's going to tell you, it's just like surgery, right? No one's ever come out of surgery like, it didn't go great. So every team's going to tell you that they got their guy for the most part. Every now and then you'll hear about them missing. And what's funny is all the stuff about Sean Payton and Mahomes from a couple of years ago. I had a scout that I had talked to that's with another team now, and we had a mutual friend, and he happened to just be passing through Denver and told us a story about not only were the Saints about to take Mahomes at 11, but that Drew Brees happened to be in the building, and Jordan Spieth was there too. And so I've asked Sean the story a couple of times now since he's been here. I'd actually asked him about it in Indy a couple of years back because I had met Sean well before he was in Denver through some other mutual friends at a Final Four. So he corroborated it. Terry Fontenot has now corroborated it. So all these people have corroborated it. But the point being, you can only put so much stock into what people are going to tell you following the draft, and we'll find out in the next, 1, 2, 3, 4 years if any of these classes are any good and if these guys can play.
Brendan, I'm kind of curious, what's the local reaction been to Bo Nix?
I think it's cautious optimism for a couple of reasons. It's been, it's only been one tough year for Sean Payton, and he was a game under 500. It's only been now 3 full seasons and 4 drafts for George Payton. But again, that's only been 3 seasons. The Broncos are dealing with a win in Super Bowl 50. Broncos fans and Broncos country, as they like to be called, and we've spent a lot of marketing dollars on being called, Broncos country is dealing with 8 straight years of no playoffs. And all the quarterbacks that have come since Peyton Manning, including a guy that's probably going to end up with a gold jacket, especially if things in Pittsburgh can turn around, and it just hasn't worked out. And so they're dealing with that effect, right, and the negativity around that. And so I think that all they want is hope, and Paxton Lynch certainly wasn't it, and all the quarterbacks that have come since, whether it be Joe Flacco, Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, we can just keep going, although those are probably the highlights, but Paxton being a first-rounder. They have now drafted a quarterback, 11th, which is the second or 12th, which is the second highest ever. Jay Cutler won 11. Obviously, Elway was the number 1 pick. They didn't draft him. But so fans here just want to be excited. Then you couple it with the new uniforms. If he ultimately picks a number, some people think it will be 1. Some people think he may lobby for 10, or it could be something else entirely. But once he picks it, I know the marketing folks and the business folks would love for him to pick it because it will be the top-selling jersey. All fans ever want is hope, right, until you know you've got the guy. But the unknown is often better than the known, depending on what that known is. And so fans are cautiously optimistic just because they don't want to be burned, but they're going to, because they're a first-round quarterback, and we understand that value, even though there have been more misses than hits, and there's only, as it stands today, 7 guys with gold jackets that have been first-rounders since 1970, believe it or not. Now, that's going to change a little in the coming years when Eli and Big Ben and Rivers, and I'm just throwing more names, Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, all of them end up with gold jackets, and then obviously Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes. That's still only get that number to 12 or 13 over 60-plus years of drafts. So they aren't easy to come by. I get that. And so I think fans around here are cautiously optimistic. They would love for him to be the guy. They would love for Sean Payton to be the first coach to win a Super Bowl with a second team. But I don't know if they're going to buy a Bo Nix jersey in every single color as well as a throwback just yet.
We're talking with Brandon Cristal, 850 KOA in Denver. What do you think the plan is moving forward with Nix in regards to this year? Are they going to be very patient and take their time? Will they start him right away? How do you see that process playing out?
I think they traded for Zach Wilson just to see if there's anything there. And if there is, great. They like Jarrett Stidham and certainly told everybody they like Jarrett Stidham. And so they have Ben DiNucci as well, but I don't think he's much of a factor. And I think that they're not going to put handcuffs on Bo Nix or keep him on the bench if he wins the job. They want him to win the job. They're going to give him every opportunity to win the job, but they're not just going to hand him the job, if that makes sense, right? They want him to go out there and earn it. And if he does, he'll be the day one starter when we find out whoever their week one opponent is here in a couple of weeks, but he will be the guy. But they're not just going to do it, and they're not going to keep him on the bench just so he can learn. He's not 21. He's 24. He's made more college starts than anybody all time, and so he's going to come in with a lot more experience than you listen to what Sean Payton said. You listen to George Payton. You meet Bo Nix. You meet his dad like we all did last week, and then reading the stories from, the national reporters who will tell you how it all went down. And we understand that football is a huge part of Bo Nix's life, and that he has an ability to process it, and being the son of a coach and grandson of a coach, he's just grown up around the game forever, and he's confident that he can just pick it up pretty quickly. And when they met with J.J. McCarthy, we had heard from Sean. Sean's the one that told us at the owners' meetings they give guys on the night before at 5 o'clock more info than they should be able to process on purpose to see to what level can they pick everything up in terms of a playbook or throws or concepts or whatever. And at Bo Nix, of the not 6 quarterbacks, but of the handful they met with, which included Penix, Drake May, and McCarthy, that Nix just picked it up better than everybody else and picked it up fast and retained more. So does that mean he's going to be a better quarterback than any of those guys? Time will tell, but it's certainly impressive when a young player who hasn't been in the NFL but has been in a bunch of different offenses can pick things up, retain them, and then regurgitate them in a timely manner versus it taking a long time to learn, right? If you can spend less time on the teaching and more time just on the, drilling it in and tweaking and adding things to a playbook versus just teaching the basics of it, the better off you'll be.
Brandon, what do you think about the pick of Troy Franklin? Everybody here in Oregon seems to think it was a great idea. How do you see it?
I think the same thing. And, there's a funny anecdote about Sean, who it's pretty well known he's not an early riser. He'll stay at work late, but he's not a guy that's in the office at 5 a.m. every day like some of his counterparts are across the league.
Good for him.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, he's won plenty of games. I think sometimes coaches don't know any better. But George Payton said he got a text from Sean at 6 a.m., which isn't necessarily normal. But Sean said as he was brushing his teeth the night before at 11:30, his phone buzzes and he gets a text from Des Bryant, who says you got to take Troy Franklin. And he said, I was already thinking that. And he didn't make it sound like he had the closest relationship with Des, other than they brought him in at the end of Dez's career and he tore his Achilles when he was working out for the Saints. So I think Sean feels a closeness there, and he said that he scrolled up and realized that either Des said he wins at the line of scrimmage or Sean said, yeah, I know this guy wins at the line of scrimmage. But he scrolled up and he's like, "Hey, you got to take Jordan Love." And that was right after the Super Bowl. And Sean's like, "I haven't even looked at these guys." He's like, "I didn't want to scroll up any further to see who else I might have missed that hasn't been telling me about."
That's
But
great.
I think, yeah, I think when you look across the league, right, and this probably has happened forever, but we understand this story. Going back to everybody loves their draft. Well, guys still have people rated where they're rated, right? And across the board, draft experts, other teams, I'm sure had Troy Franklin as a day 2 guy. And I saw where he was number 39, number 40, whatever it may be. So when you're sitting there and round 3 ends, even with the compensatory picks, and Luke McCaffrey goes ahead of him, who obviously is a local kid, and plenty of other receivers, and a guy that you may have had rated higher than, and I'm not picking on Luke by any means, but other receivers ended up going in the second or the third round, and the guy who's got a second-round grade just sitting there. That's why Sean texts George Paton and says, "We have to go get this guy because the value is too great." Then and I believe him, they say it's just coincidence that because they took Bo, they also took Troy. But when they watched every single game of Bo Nix from the last 2 years, which they both did, that Troy jumped off the screen, and they saw him win the line of scrimmage and get vertical. And so I think that it's going to end up being a home run. Now, it was funny because they're like, "Well, what does that mean week 1?" Cortland Sutton's still here. Doesn't mean he will be week 1 this year. Tim Patrick's coming off injury. They really like Marvin Mims, who they couldn't get on the field because of Jerry Jeudy enough, and he was a Pro Bowl returner, but they expect him to be a big part of their passing game. But I don't think it matters, right? The one thing about Sean Payton is he's not afraid to use lots of different receiver combinations and 5, 6, 7 receivers, right? If we look across the league at most teams, it'll carry 5 or 6 receivers. Odds are Sean Payton most games will have 6 or 7 receivers either active or on their active 53. And so I don't know what that means week 1, but for a guy that was clearly Bo Nix's favorite target, it certainly seemed that way, for him to be here now, that can only be a good thing.
We're talking with Brandon Cristal from 850 KOA in Denver. We did want to ask you about the Nuggets. Do you know what Murray's status is for tonight?
I don't. I can text you in 32 minutes when I get down there. So I have to think he'll play unless it's just so bad he can't, and they don't want to push it. He's been dealing with ankle and knee issues kind of throughout the year. Sprained ankle here, sore knee. Calf gets tricky, right? Because depending on what it is, you see where the Bucks are erring on the side of caution after what we saw with Kevin Durant and his calf injury turning quickly into Achilles, right? So it doesn't mean it's the same thing because different calf injuries mean something different to everybody, but it's certainly something to be aware of and potentially concerned with for tonight with Murray and in this game.
All right, Brandon. Hey, I appreciate you making time. Enjoy the basketball game tonight, and we love talking Bo Nix with you. This is pretty exciting as a Bronco fan to see how this plays out. You can follow him on X at BK Denver Sports. But, man, it's great to have you on the show. Thanks for keeping me up to date on everything Denver-wise.
Of course, Chad. I will be curious on how many different Bo Nix jerseys you end up buying with the different uniform combinations. So keep me apprised of that, please.
Well, I could guarantee you one thing. I'll have a Bo Nix throwback jersey, man. That was, I have to admit, that video was pretty sweet with Gradishar giving the jersey over to the corner. I thought that was absolutely terrific, man. Amazing.
Yeah, and they knew that those would be a hit. But by league rule, I guess they don't release the throwbacks until July anyway.
Yeah. And
so no one get their hands on them, but everyone was fairly convinced that had those been available early last week, they were sold out of those.
Huge.
But in July when they come out, they will certainly, I'm sure, perform well. And I got to think that it's good to be John Elway, too, because they'll buy plenty of those with
sure.
a 7 and an Elway on them, too.
There's no doubt about it.
I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, thanks, man. There's Brandon Cristal from 850 KOA in Denver. Boy, he made some very good points about
Good
Bo.
stuff.
So yeah. I like that approach where it's like, we're not just going to hand you the job.
Yeah.
We want you to go out there and earn it. And I think that's the best way to do it because if Nix earns the job, the teammates are going to respect that process, right?
That's credibility. Yeah.
But if he doesn't earn it or if he just needs more time, they don't have to. There's no pressure to force him onto the field.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should because sometimes guys aren't ready to jump on the field right away. You need time. Patrick Mahomes didn't play right away. He didn't play his first year until the final game of the season. Tom Brady did not play in his first year.
Yeah.
He jumped in when Breeze got hurt the following year. So it depends on the player. But the way I look at it is with the quarterback room as it sits.
I was going to say, Zach Wilson is the only guy that's got a chance. Can he beat him out?
Well, if Nix doesn't beat out Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson, then I would be concerned.
Yeah.
I would be. It's like, what? You can't beat out those two bums? One guy is out trying to get on your mom, and the other guy is he's played one game in his career. So, yeah, I would expect him to win that battle. I would hope, right?
Yeah, I think he will.
503-248-0620. We had a couple of spring storms up in Denver when I lived up on the mountain in Conifer. And one year it was May, and we got snow drifts up to like 6-7 feet. Incredible. And we were like buried in the house, and my dad was like carving out with a shovel a pathway to get the car out. And then 2 days after the snowstorm, it was like 55 and sunny outside. It's like, what in the world's going on here?
Yeah. I got to say, you had just a little tiny piece of your update at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
Tyson now, that fight's going to be a sanctioned fight.
Yeah.
Well, okay, first of all, that means there'll be a commission overlooking it. So both guys are going to have to pass a physical.
Yeah.
Tyson will pass it, but I'm also curious. I think they're both going to have quite a difference in what they weigh. So sometimes commissions have a little bit of a problem with that. You know, is this going to be a heavyweight fight? Is it going to be a middleweight fight? Welterweight? What is it going to be? I think it could end up being a stumbling block because it also, if anybody's using any, let's just say, substances to help them get in shape, that would show up too prior to the fight.
There's no way on God's green earth that fight will not go through.
There's too much money at stake.
There's too much
Commission
money.
won't stop it, right?
No, of course not.
Yeah.
It's like, here are the dollars. Here's what we can provide you. Just make sure it goes down.
Is this the one is it gonna be in Texas Stadium or where is it gonna be, Jed?
I don't know, but I know one thing. There's no way I'm going to miss that fight.
Oh, absolutely not. No, I'm there. I'd like to go see it in person, to tell you the truth.
You should do that.
Yeah.
Would Nancy have interest to go see Tyson in
Oh,
person?
she'd go in a heartbeat.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, gosh, she'd love to go.
All right, let's see here.
She likes boxing. She especially likes the stare downs at the start before they ring the bell.
The heavyweight showdown will be contested over 8 2-minute rounds with each fighter using 14-ounce gloves.
Oh, come on.
The outcome will affect their professional boxing records.
8 2-minute rounds with 14-ounce gloves? Goodness sakes.
Well,
they're going to be
old.
Those are pillows.
Trust me, if Tyson hit you
I
with one of
know,
those
I know,
pillows,
I
he
know.
would
I'm just
knock you
messing
into
around.
tomorrow.
I'm messing around. But I do think 2-minute round. You need 3-minute rounds.
AT&T Stadium. Gosh, that's going to be awesome.
There's going to be a big crowd for that. We could get a ticket though. We might be better off watching it on TV. We're going to see a lot better action.
Who's doing the illegal stream for you? I mean, who's paying for the pay-per-view?
You come on over to the house. I'll have it. I guarantee I'll have it.
July 20th. I just can't not watch that. Like, that's something that we all have to see. Mike Tyson's awesome. He's awesome. Because you know that even at this stage in his life, one punch and he can still destroy you. That is a skill you don't lose.
You would think.
Yeah.
And Paul is, although his last fight or two, he's gotten pretty good reviews. His technique, his mechanics have come up quite a bit. But he's still not a pro. I wouldn't consider him a real boxer.
No.
He's just got to run from him. But with 2-minute rounds, Tyson's got a chance to not be out of shape too bad.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a long time to last. He's used to 3-minute rounds.
All right, if you're on hold, Tony, stay there. We'll get to your calls next because I believe Tony in Portland's a Chicago fan, and if that's the case, he should be elated right now.
Yeah.
The Bears had a heck of a draft.
They did.
Years and years of just trash, and now all of a sudden the Bears have something to celebrate. A quarterback, and they got Rome Odunze at 9. They must have been stunned when Atlanta was like, we'll take Penix. All right, we'll get to that as well. I've got some thoughts on Penix going to Atlanta. I'm sure Kirk Cousins is thrilled over that decision.
Oh, man.
Good gracious. All right, 503-248-0620. We'll talk Phoenix Suns with Felix Flex Cruz coming up at 5:20. Man, this is awesome. But thanks to Duke, the UPS driver. I did not know this, but the Tyson Paul fight, free to all subscribers on Netflix.
Get out. That's crazy. How much would you pay? You'd pay $100 to see that fight,
Without even thinking about it.
Of course. Everybody would. And Paul's got all those Instagram followers that aren't even boxing fans, but they'll follow him anywhere. They would buy that fight no matter what. That's a big thing for Netflix because they're going to gain plenty of subscribers.
I'd pay $100 just to watch Charlize Theron walk around her house with a camera on her.
And you probably have.
Yeah, I would. $100 for free. That's a good deal right there. Thank you, Netflix.
Free is a very good price.
That's caring about people right there.
Yes.
So what they're thinking is,
it's caring about people. It's caring about their business model.
so how many buffoons out there will load up on the Netflix subscription just to watch that fight? Probably. Or are they just going to hit up their boys for the passwords?
Probably. That's what's happening to the whole TV scene now. That's why the regional sports networks, all these other streaming services, they're doomed.
Dude.
They're absolutely doomed because people just keep stealing the stuff, right?
Okay. Honest question.
Yeah.
How many apps do you access
I knew you were going to ask
that are not your own?
None. No, I have them all.
Oh,
Trust
get out
me.
of here.
You ought to see the bills every month. I haven't done that. I used to, but
I have
no,
access to like 20 different streaming
Of course
services,
you do.
and I don't pay for a darn thing.
You're kidding me.
Hey, do you have a password for this? Yeah, try this one. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was wanting to get into Paramount Plus the other day to watch some old shows. So I made a couple of calls, got a password, and now I'm watching it for free. I didn't feel the need to pay for it if I thought someone might have a password. Yeah, I haven't paid for Netflix in like 5 years. It's genius. And I access all the content. I do pay for Prime. And I pay for Prime. And I pay for YouTube
Prime.
Premium.
Yeah, you pay for Prime because you're buying stuff from them and you want the free delivery, right?
Yeah.
If you use somebody else's password, all those things you buy would get delivered to that guy's house.
I know that'd be a problem.
Yeah.
It still blew me away this weekend. I ordered some nutrition bars.
Yeah.
It got delivered the same day. Like just a few hours later, I'm like, they showed up on my doorstep.
Yeah.
How does that freaking happen?
They've got
It's
what they call
mind-blowing.
fulfillment centers. In other words, big warehouses. There's one in Canby, I think. They're all over the place.
I'm going to start. I'm telling you what, man. I am becoming more of an online shopper by the very moment.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about going completely online. I got to thinking yesterday, like, why did I just go to Target? I made the trip to Target. I went through the hassle of the drive and dealing with the people and the this and the that. Everything I got, I could have just ordered on Prime
Yeah.
and have it delivered right to my door.
Yeah, I'm torn on that because I do want those stores to exist.
Yeah.
I need them once in a while.
I do too, but I'm just saying, if I can order the same thing for like the same price or a little bit less and not have to spend the gas to go, I'm just going to start trying that and just having everything delivered to my crib because I'm starting to really like the idea. And most of the gear I buy, I know the size that fits perfectly. Now, and the great thing about Amazon is like they make the return easy.
Yeah.
I could drive right down to Kohl's and they got a little return center back there. You just drop in the box. They take care of it for you. I just can't believe how efficient it is. It's mind-blowing. And I love Netflix for giving us Tyson for free because everyone needs to see that. Well, not for free, but for me, it's free. So thank you. Let's go out to.
Oh man!
And at least now I know if I have need for a password to a different app I don't have access to, I'll call you. Hey, Godfather, what's the password?
You know the problem with that is I don't know half the passwords. They're just set in there, and
Do you think? Don't tell Kerry you have access to all these other sites. He'll be hitting you up soon.
no, he doesn't know how to get to those sites. He doesn't do the streaming, I don't think.
All right, let's go talk to a Bears fan and see how happy. Hey, Tony, how happy are you to be a Bears fan right now?
I sent you a text to let you know.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very excited. That draft was beautiful. It played out perfectly. And not only did we get the two studs, but picked up an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, and a punter. So, I'm ready for next season. I do think Bo will start for your Broncos by say week 10.
and it's awesome that he's on the Broncos because I'm sure you're going to be keeping us well updated, and I'm a big Ducks fan. So
whether you
the
want it or
draft
not,
was awesome.
Yeah, it was
What's
great.
that?
No, whether you want the bowl updates or not, you're going to get it.
Tony, do you trust those Bear coaches to get the best out of Caleb?
That's a different story.
I thought it might be.
No one trusts Eberflus.
No, I'm a little bit concerned about that, but it's exciting. I'm exciting. It's what I wanted. I was done with Justin, and I got a good buddy who, wanted to play out one more year, and I was just against it. So I'm getting my wish. I hope it works out. I did want to talk a little NBA because I'm really locked in on the T-Wolves. I haven't been. I've had a friend who's like, I'm all about Luka. I love Luka. I think he's, next to Jokic, probably the best guy in the league right now. But now watching Ant a little bit closer, I'm calling him Ant. I don't know if they do, but Anthony Edwards, man, that guy is absolutely ridiculous. I really feel like if there was anybody, that was going to, touch, Jordan-esque, I think this guy, next to Kobe, like this kid's got it. Like he's 22 and he's got it all. And the defense is there too. It's amazing.
Yeah.
He's a great player, man. Hey, if I were you, take off your pants, man. As a Bears fan, I'm just saying, Tony, don't be afraid to show it off right now. You got to do it. Based on the text he sent me, he's got, I don't even know if I can say this, but he's got a sports bonaire. He is popping rod for the Chicago Bears, as he should be. How can you not be happy to be a Bears fan right now? Your quarterback situation has been solved since the days of Sid Luckman, and they got Odunze. I would be having a party right now. I wouldn't even be wearing pants.
Sid Luckman.
Good luck. You should be thankful I'm not a Bears fan, Godfather.
I'm glad that you're invoking the name of Sid Luckman.
That was their last franchise QB.
Yeah, I know, but
you appreciate that.
I appreciate it. There's a few listeners out there not old enough to remember Sid Luckman.
I like the name Sid. I think that's a cool name.
Really?
I like it. Yeah, that'd be a good radio name, Sid. Godfather and Sid, that works. It's better than Chad Doing for crying out loud.
You can spell it C-I-D, which means the king. El Cid.
I was making my dentist appointments. Like, I always have to do that doing. Like, what are you doing? D-O-I-N-G. I have to do that or they'll misspell it.
Yeah, I know all about misspelling last names.
And then this morning, I scheduled my massage appointment, and I spelled out my name, and she goes, "Oh, you're the guy from radio?" And I was just stunned to hear, like, a female that was like, that knew who I was. I was like, good. I'm making inroads in the female demographic, Godfather. Isn't that nice?
That's where you need them the most.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. Tony is highly aroused. Where's he at now? Happy Valley? He's out in Happy. He's very happy right now. It's a very happy valley out there at Tony's crib. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We're going to talk hoop with we'll get the pulse on Phoenix with Flex. He's going to join us coming up at 5:20. But when we come back, I'm going to ask Dwight if the Broncos should indeed start Bo Nix in his rookie season. You got the Rip City Drive. Hey, what's going on? It's now 5 o'clock. Chad here. We start with the NBA playoffs right now, first quarter in Miami. Celtics lead the Heat 29-18 with 2:20 to play. Boston leads that series 2-1. I'm looking for a win to push it 3-1 going back to Boston. At 5:30 on NBA TV, Thunder at the Pelicans. OKC looking for a sweep. They're favored by 4.5. At 7 on TNT, the Lakers are in Denver. Game 5, Nuggets lead the series 3-1. Jamal Murray questionable. Denver favored by 6.5. From the NFL, Travis Kelce got more cash, 2 years and $34 million from the NHL. The Kraken have fired Dave Hackstall after 3 seasons. The Kraken missed the playoffs this year. Braves and Mariners coming up from T-Mobile Park. First pitch at 6:40. Great job. Great job. This is a great open.
Bo Diddley.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
I've seen him live.
Boy, this piece that was put out by Albert Breer today, he might deserve a Pulitzer Prize for this work. It's ridiculous. Talking about Bo Nix and what went into him being drafted by the Denver Broncos, Davis Webb, their quarterback coach who played at Cal, he ran the workout, and Denver wanted to confirm what it saw on tape, that the arm strength, while short of the truly elite guys, was very good, and his accuracy was on another level. The Broncos quarterback coach also wanted to simulate a noisy pocket and see Nix's ability to move around and throw with things muddy around him. All that was on tape stood up, with Nix throwing to wide receiver Troy Franklin and running back Bucky Irving and around 10 of his ex-teammates there to support him, which affirmed what the Broncos heard about Nix. He is a Pied Piper. And that's pretty good praise for Bo Nix in terms of what they saw. So essentially what the Broncos did is they identified Nix early on, but they were trying to keep it under wraps because they wanted to get him at 12 without having to move up and give up assets to do so. Breer pointed out that Joel Klatt and there was one other individual who made mention of Nix being a perfect match because Klatt was in the Saints camp with Peyton back in the day when he was still playing.
Yeah, that's right, when he was a player.
Yeah, so as a player and knowing offenses the way that Klatt does, he knew that Nix was the perfect fit. Well, that concerned the Broncos that people were making the connection between Nix and Peyton, and so they decided to have a meeting, and they said, look, everything we do from here on out, do not say a word about Nix. Do not share any insight about Nix. We don't want anyone to know that we have interest in him. And so they started the smoke screen where they started leaking information about being in love with J.J. McCarthy. And they used Peyton Manning, among many others in the media, to be able to get that job done. And it paid off because no one thought that their target was Bo Nix. So they met with him for his private workout day. And I love the story where Bo Nix has got this bag, right? And he had it with him, and after their 2-hour, in-person meeting where they were going over just football stuff, the Broncos had sent him a whole pile of stuff to see how quickly he could digest, like 3 days worth of install, and see what he could absorb in a 24-hour period. And Sean Payton, according to the report, was like, hey, what's in the bag? And he opened it up, and it had tape and some ball that he rolls on to crack his back. Anything that Nix would need to play football immediately was in the bag.
Tape for his ankles.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that confirmed what they had heard through others, that he was a football junkie, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you hear things about a guy and you need to know if it's true or not. Does it match up with what you're hearing? So that matched up well, and then they put him through all the drills. they used analytics. They pulled out all of the short throws, the givens that they call it, and Nick's ranked at the top, except for red zone passing, in every category. The analytics team for Denver went through all the numbers, and they found out that Nick's, based on numbers, was the best quarterback in the draft.
But they didn't share that with the coach until later.
Yes. How genius is that Sean Payton's like, don't tell me a freaking thing. I need to go through my evaluation without being poisoned by the numbers.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to arrive to his own conclusion on whether or not Nick's was his guy or not. Then, when they finally met and he realized that the analytics team had come to the same conclusion that he had.
Well, I bet that was a real good day for him when he said, man, I'm really sold on this kid, but let me check it out with the numbers.
Yes.
Whoa.
That's great. Even on their board, according to Breer, they had their quarterbacks up there, but they didn't have them ranked because they didn't want to poison any of the scouts. From my understanding, what they want is, and I've talked to in other sports to, people in the front office before where, and I know the Warriors are big on this too, where they want, and I even heard Steve Keim talk about this today. You want your scouts to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Just, what do you think? Give me your honest take. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me exactly what you think. Yeah. I'm going to be the one that will make the decision to be responsible for it, but I need to know exactly what you believe. And when you have that, you get people free sharing ideas, and that's probably a better way to function. So that's how they came to the decision that Bo Nix was the right choice. They knew they had to take him at 12 because if they tried to trade back, he wasn't going to be there. Someone else was going to take him, especially after Nix went off the board at 8 to Atlanta, shocking everyone.
Yeah.
But I guess my question would be this, Godfather. How do you know when the right time is to start a rookie quarterback in the NFL? How do you know? Because there have been great, like even Elway. When he played as a rookie, he was terrible.
Yeah.
And, you worry about guys getting destroyed
right.
Confidence-wise. You start to see ghosts out there because things just you get off to a rocky start. Like, how do you know when the right time is?
Well, I don't know, but my guess is Sean Payton definitely knows.
Yeah.
And he's gonna know from watching him in practice. And I think part of it too is, does he go in there and win the other starters over? Does he gain their confidence right away? And I think he will, because they're going to see how hard he works, and that's going to impress them. Then he's going to make the throws, and that's going to impress them even more. So I think you don't have to worry about him winning the job in camp. He will win the job. I believe that. And if he wins the job, he will start. There's no reason not to. And I think the only concern would be how he handles pressure and whether or not he'll even see that in exhibition games. Because you know how teams play. They play such vanilla defense in exhibition games. You really won't know until the bell rings on the season. But once that happens, you'll know right away how he deals with that. But I think you put him out there to see. And look, if you have to take him out after a couple games, say, hey, our mistake. We didn't prepare you enough. Don't worry about it. Let Zach Wilson have it for a while, and then we'll see what happens. But I think he'll start, and I think he'll be the quarterback the whole season.
The good thing for Denver is their offensive line graded out as a top 10 unit, according to Pro Football
Very
Focus
important.
last year.
Yeah, very important.
They will have 4 of their 5 starters returning, and they've built their team to be a running-type football team. They got Estime, the big running back from Notre Dame. They've got Javonte Williams. My guess is for Sean Payton, he'll put him in a position to, well, like any good coach would do, right, to do the things that he's best on.
Yeah.
For me, I just look at the quarterback room very simply. They've got Zach Wilson, Ben DiNucci, and Jarrett Stidham. Those guys aren't very good. So I would be stunned and concerned if Bo Nix did not beat those guys out in competition through camp. That would surprise me because he should be better than those guys right now. The good news is with a coach that's brand new in his second year, an ownership group that's just taken over and shown support of their coach, whatever decision Payton makes, there won't be pressure to get him on the field right away.
Yeah, and don't forget the other thing with Bo now is he's older than your average rookie.
Yeah,
and
he's not 20 or 21.
He's played a lot more college games. He's seen a lot more. He's, I think, very further advanced than your average rookie quarterback.
Like very pro-ready today.
Yeah, I would think so. And people have said that. If you want to get somebody that's really pro-ready, he's right near the top of that list.
Let's go out to the phones. Don in Wilsonville. Don, welcome to the show. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, I like Bo Nix. I want to let you know I like him, but, man, that character of that coach, I think that's going to destroy him.
Hey, put that in your wallet. 125, that's what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're good.
There you go. That ended that phone call. What kind of a transaction was going down there with Don in Wilsonville?
I'm not sure. It didn't seem like he was dealing with a retail outlet. Let's put it that way.
$125 for what, Don? What were you paying for? And that sounded like an under-the-table type transaction.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think there was a receipt delivered there. I don't know.
I think Don might paint a little bit. I don't know. Interesting. Very interesting.
Paint a little bit, yeah.
We need a replay on that. That guy didn't sound happy. Did the guy sound happy?
No.
When he was asking for his $125?
Yeah, he seemed like he was a little impatient on that. I would like to hear that back.
I like how Don just quickly ejected from the phone call, too. Like he started in on Bo Nix and how he likes Bo Nix. It sounded like he was going to crack on Sean Payton for his character.
Yeah.
Well, he does have questionable character to a degree. He did set up the sting operation with the Bounty Gate, right?
Yeah. Got suspended for a year.
Huh. And he's complained about officiating for years, so the league hates that. He's more of a maverick type head coach, right?
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to hear that conversation, though. Michael, if you
I wasn't ready for the conversation to end. I wish Don would have at least set the phone down so we could hear how that ended out. Did he get to talk the guy down from 125?
He didn't want us to hear that conversation.
Sounded like some scandalous, shady activity going on there with Don in Wilsonville. I hope it was painting.
Painting.
All right, we'll have that. We'll have a replay for you in the near future.
If you're painting something, you're going to charge more than $125.
You think that guy was like a madam or something?
Like a madam?
Was that what they called him? The lady that has ladies? I don't know what you call them, a madam?
Well, that's what you call the woman.
Yeah.
If it's a woman, yeah.
Yeah, like a madam.
Yeah.
I was trying to be nice and not say the word pimp.
Oh. When have you started being nice?
I know. It's like I try to be nice because I don't want to offend you. And then you're like, what do you mean by madam? All right, Don. Appreciate that phone call. Next time you get stuck in the middle of a phone call to us and what's going on in your life, just set the phone down so we can at least get the I want the end of the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was Don about to get off right there? Is Don okay?
No, I hope whatever he bought is good for him.
Whatever service the guy bought was good for him.
Yeah, or if it's some sort of substance that it doesn't do him any harm.
Yeah, I think Don's a clean guy. He's got clean living. At least I thought that until that phone call right there. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Felix Flex Cruz is going to join us next. Phoenix is a mess right now. I love this line, too. I just got to read this to you real quick. Well, All right, we'll get to your phone calls in a moment, and we'll have a replay on the bizarre ending to Don and Wilsonville's phone call. But we got to go to the phones right now. We love this guy. He's on X from Flex from Jersey, co-host and insider of Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Sports, the Coast to Coast podcast, Suns pre- and post-game show, CBS Sports, Arizona Family, Suns Insider, and Fox 10 Suns Insider. This guy's doing everything. It's Felix Flex Cruz, who's back on the show. What's up, my brother?
My brother. Love it, man. Good to be back on with you guys.
All right. Are you dealing with a code blue right now in Phoenix? What's going on down there?
Oh, man. Cold blue's an understatement, dude. It's an understatement. Is Godfather, you there?
Yeah.
All right. I just want to make sure, because you know I love you. Yeah, cold blue is crazy out here right now, man. Listen, this was a complete disaster. From beginning to end, top to bottom. I got to say, guys, I've been around the game of basketball my whole life. I've covered the game for many years. This was by far the most frustrating and disappointing season I've ever had covering a team. It wasn't fun from the beginning, whether it was injuries, whether it was continuity and chemistry issues, whether it was a disconnect in the locker room, whether it was coaching. This just never came together the way we thought it would. And that's the price you pay when you sell your soul to get a big three. You know that this is a possibility. You took the swing, and it didn't quite work out. So there's a lot of things that need to be answered this off season, and it's gonna be really busy and a lot of work to get done out here in the Valley.
All right, Flex, I wanted to ask you this. You've seen this, I'm sure, floating around, but according to a source, Matt Ishbia, quote, has no idea what he's doing when it comes to basketball. It's like Looney Tunes around here. It's felt unstable since Ishbia arrived. He's a good guy and everything, I think, but he's just very involved, too involved. I know he played college basketball at Michigan State, but I'd venture to say he has no idea what he's doing when it comes to basketball, yet he's making a lot of big decisions. Do you have any idea who is responsible for that quote?
I don't. And if I'm being truly transparent, this is the first time I heard this quote. I've been busy all day making the rounds. I haven't heard that quote, but I will say this. I like Matt Ishbia. I think he's a great dude. He's definitely all in on winning and providing everything that a team needs to win. He'll spend as much as he needs to win. But I do think that there's going to be some changes in his front office. I do believe that. I don't know that it's going to be so much firing getting done, but I think there'll be some reassignments and some new people brought into the front office to kind of get this ship or get this train back on the rails. With that said, the first thing they need to do is they need to figure out what's going on with the coach. That's priority number one in getting this thing back on track. Matt Ishbia took a shot on Frank Vogel. He had history with a big three. And this was a monumental failure. I can't stress it any other way. So there's going to be changes in the front office. I think there'll be changes on the coaching staff, and there'll be changes in that roster. But I don't know if I want to put this all on Matt Ishbia. I think Matt Ishbia did whatever would need to get done to put this team together. And if you go hindsight 2020, guys, the two deals that he made, I would still do them again because I knew the circumstance, I knew the CBA, I knew the structure of the deals. I don't think that was the problem. I think the problem was the construction around the Big Three was poor.
Okay, Flex. Now I gotta get to this with you. They're in a tough spot now. There's not many ways they can go to improve this team other than signing minimum salary players. The one thing they could do you think there's any possibility at all they would look to trading Kevin Durant?
Absolutely, unequivocally. See, there's things going on here. I'm going to give you two options, Godfather. You're either going to run it back, and you're going to try to fill the gaps and fill the holes that you saw were there. Obviously clear to everyone, throughout the offseason. Right now, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Brad Beal, Grayson Allen. Those are your top four players. If you're going to run the big three back, you got to get better 5 through 12. It's hard to do that when you don't have many draft picks, but they have a draft pick this year and they have one every other year. Kevin Durant is eligible for a contract extension in June. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think the Phoenix Suns are going to be giving Kevin Durant a contract extension. That opens the door for both parties to look in the mirror and say, okay, if we're not going to give you a contract extension and you're maybe taking offense to that, is there an opportunity for us to move you? He's still got 2 years left on his deal. He plays some of the best defense he's played in 10 years, and he's still a top 5 scorer in the NBA. So you're talking to some of my GM friends and contacts around the league, there's still value for Kevin Durant. You're not going to get what you gave up for him, but there is still potential value for Kevin Durant. You can't trade Devin Booker. He's 26 years old. He's a superstar under contract for 5 more years. And you can't trade Brad Beal because he has a no-trade clause. So the only other option is to either you two options. You're going to bring them back and build around the edges, or you're going to have to break up the big three. And it starts with potentially Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I'm kind of. This is an interesting case, Flex. I think because they tried to build a big three. They went all in on that, but sometimes when you go all in, you end up all out. And I think in this case, it's a very difficult thing for your fans, for everybody out there, the media, and everyone else. Do you think they have to do anything, or do you think it would be a choice to just run it back?
I'm going to tell you what. I love this question, guy. I've had it numerous times today. Here's the thing. You're right. When you go all in and it doesn't work, you potentially flame out. And there's a reason why the NBA is going away from this. Because most times statistics and analytics will tell you it doesn't work. I don't know that there is a deal or a path that breaks up the big three and makes you better. I really don't. And so what I say is, I'm going to give you an example with the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Minnesota Timberwolves that just annihilated the Phoenix Suns, mopped the floor with them. When they made the Rudy Gobert trade last year, that team was not very good. They were getting criticized from national media, local media, NBA people across the globe were killing the Timberwolves for making that Rudy Gobert trade, giving up 5 first-round picks for a center. And the idea that they would play 2 centers in the league where centers are getting phased out. And so last year, if you looked at the Timberwolves, you would say it was monumental failure. They're never going to recover from it. Well, guess what? They took the offseason. They used that 1 year to kind of build continuity. And they realized and looked in the mirror and said, these are the subtle changes we need to make to run this back again and potentially be better. That's the blueprint for the Phoenix Suns. You potentially keep them together, and you moves around the edges. You get a little younger, a little bit more athletic, maybe get a point guard. How about that? No point guard, starting or back, So, maybe you get a point guard so that point guard can distribute the ball and get the touches for the big three and know that, hey, Devin hasn't touched the ball in possessions. Let me get him a touch. Let me get Kevin a touch. Let me be the guy that distributes as opposed to putting the ball in their hand and making them make that decision. So, Chris Paul's a free agent. I said this openly. I'm going to continue to say it. Chris Paul's a free agent. Chris Paul, I've had conversations where, I don't know if he's happy that he left Phoenix after seeing what happened this year. I wouldn't be opposed to calling Chris Paul and saying, hey, buddy, you got that wrong. You want to come back and play 18 minutes and dish the ball around to the big three, get them in their offense and keep things in line? These are the subtle moves they're going to have to make because without a point guard, these guys aren't going to be able to do it. I'm sorry. It's just clear as day. You need a point guard to play basketball. You need a point guard to win. It's more difficult than just throw talent out there and think you're going to win. It's more complex.
We're talking with Felix Flex Cruz here on the Rip City Drive. We were speaking with Brad Botkin earlier, and he made a point that I wanted to get your take on. He thought that the way that they play right now with Booker and Durant, playing, more isolation-type basketball, competing for the same shots and shooting a lot of mid-range jumpers, that's not the right path to take. That if you do go with a new coach, you need to get them in a system where it's creating better shots for everyone. My question to you would be, is there a coach they can bring in that could get these guys to buy in and play more as part of a system to get people better shots?
Absolutely, unequivocally, and I agree with that comment. You see, the Suns are running an offense that Kevin Young, the new coach at BYU, has been running for years with the Suns that went to the finals, okay? That offense is predicated on 0.5. You get the ball, 0.5 seconds. You pass, you shoot, you dribble. There was way too much isolation basketball going on. And the Suns fell right into the trap with the Timberwolves, guys. The Timberwolves said, we're going to call Anthony Towns. We're going to put him on Kevin Durant. We're going to bet that Kevin Durant's going to look at that matchup and say, I can win every day and stop the ball movement, stagnate the ball. So they need to move the ball more. I'm going to throw a name out there, guys, that I'm fascinated with. And don't be shocked if you start to hear this connection. And the guy that's never coached before. But I love him as a person. I think he's a basketball genius. I think he's very good at what he does. And I think he's a guy that's going to be an interesting name that may pop up if the Suns doing the Frank Vogel. And that guy is J.J. Redick. That is a guy that's cerebral. That is a guy that's connected enough to the new NBA that understands that isolation basketball doesn't win. This is a guy that played basketball and understands that isolation basketball is not how he made his career. And so if you can get a guy in here who can connect with the players, is connected enough to the new NBA to say the old way doesn't work anymore. You're gonna have to move the ball. You're gonna have to play as a team, and you're gonna have to, take advantage of certain mismatches in a way where you're not with this complete balance. A guy like J.J. Redick is interesting. So I know he got an interview or was interested in Charlotte, and I think his name's gonna pop up more in Phoenix, depending on what they do with Franco.
Wow, that did surprise me a little bit. Do you see the Timberwolves? Can they knock off the Denver Nuggets?
I like the Timberwolves, Godfather. I think they're fantastic. I think they play hard. I think they take on the identity of their coach. I love what they're doing with Anthony Edwards. I think he's the next big star in the NBA. They're doing a good job of working with the big guys, and Jaden McDaniels is terrific. I just don't know that they have enough. This Denver Nugget team is pretty good, man. And one thing I've learned from this season is continuity and chemistry trumps talent every day when it comes to basketball. And that team is connected. They've been around. They've kept that team together. They have championship pedigree. I think it'll be an interesting series, but I got the Nuggets.
All right. Felix Flex Cruz here on the Rip City Drive. He is the co-host and insider for the Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Sports, the Coast to Coast podcast, Suns pre- and post-game show. He's part of the CBS Sports Arizona family with a Suns insider, also Fox 10 down in Phoenix. Hey, Flex, I love popping up my YouTube and seeing you all over the place, man. You are blowing up, and it's a beautiful thing, my friend.
I appreciate you, my brother. I love you guys to death. Anything you need during this off season, man, I'm a call away.
All right, dude. Enjoy Code Blue, and we'll catch up soon.
You got it, guys.
Gosh, love him.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. So, Flex, and that surprised me. I didn't expect him to agree that Kevin Durant would be, potentially dealt, but he makes a good point. If they don't offer the extension, Kevin Durant's going to want to go elsewhere.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, there have been a lot of people talking about, is it time to reassess Kevin Durant a little bit? Is he the same player that he was? Would you be willing to give him an extension? He'll be 37, I think, when that extension kicks in.
I would, because he's so good. I like watching him play. But the problem is, it's not Kevin Durant that I have an issue with. It's the roster that's built around him that's the issue.
And the other point that Brad made is absolutely correct. You can't win without the three-point shooting anymore. And to try to do that, you're just running into a brick wall. You've got to have it, at least on a limited basis.
Even Minnesota, who's using their bigs, they have three-point shooters.
Yeah.
Wow. I would like to see J.J. Redick roaming an NBA sideline just to see how that would play out.
Well, guess what? He'd get some three-point shooting.
Oh, goodness.
If he had to put the uniform on himself.
All right, let's go out to the phones. Raider Mike is on the line, and you and I were talking about the Raiders earlier. It's funny that they don't get Penix. Penix is taken by Atlanta, who also signed Kirk Cousins to that deal worth $100 million in guaranteed money.
Mm-hmm.
But the Raiders they paid big-time money to a defensive tackle, Wilkins. They got him from Miami in free agency, and they signed Gardner Minshew, the stash. What they should have done is sign Kirk Cousins to take care of the talent they have right now, because the Raiders have some top-end talent that's really nice. Yeah. And then the Falcons could have signed Gardner Minshew and then had someone to kind of keep the seat warm until Penix is ready to take over.
That would have been perfect for both teams.
And instead, the Raiders wound up with a tight end and no quarterback. Let's go see how Mike is handling this. Raider Mike, welcome to the show. How bitter are you that the Raiders did not get a quarterback in the draft?
First, this needs to be prefaced because you made fun of me, I don't know, 10 days ago about how myopic I was taking him at 13.
Yeah.
Penix.
Yes.
Oh, well, look what happened. Atlanta. I don't know what to say about that, bro.
What was going through your mind when he got selected by the Falcons? Like, what went through your mind?
Same as the rest of the country. What is this idiot team doing that has no defensive line? You got the kid from UCLA right there. Oh, and you just signed Cousins to $100 million guarantee. Let's take a quarterback here. And great offensive weapons, but it's going to take a while for Penix to get used to those guys. And the defense is going to be a sieve. So they're idiots. So 12th pick. You guys take Nix. I didn't want Nix anyway. And then 13. Best player on the draft. On the board anyway at that point. So Telesco was Telesco. I'm fine with it. Because 2 tight ends set. Because this dude Bowers is not just a tight end. I mean, he's a running back. He's a wide receiver. He's a slot receiver. So he's a badass. So, and Akon was 5-4 last year. And I think Minshew, Gardner, however, Minshew. There we go, Minshew. He's suitable, and he seems like a Raider.
He does seem like a Raider. Yes.
I've never been happier in my life.
Hair.
I love it. You're miserable right now, Raider Mike. You have no quarterback, and you hate it.
I'm okay.
I love it. No, you're not.
I'm okay. Yeah.
They have no quarterback. They have no quarterback. They're screwed, and I love it because I hate the Raiders. The Raiders with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. But, hey, they got a great tight end. Oh,
they do have a great tight end. He's good.
Yeah, they just have no one that can throw him the football. That's nice. That's okay. They're the Raiders. Commitment to excellence. No quarterback. It makes me happy. You hear the myopia there? He's trying to spin it on the fly into how taking a tight end, he's the best player on the board. Yeah, technically true, but you have no QB.
Yeah.
He thought they were going to get Penix, and he went 8 to Atlanta. The Raiders were probably stunned. Everyone was. Can you imagine? I wish I could have been a fly on the wall in the Raiders room when that went down.
Yeah, and look, I like Penix, okay? I think I've made that known. But the fact that somebody took him at 8 doesn't necessarily mean that was the right pick at 8, right? Or that it would be the right pick at 14 or 15 or whatever.
I'll tell you what, I don't buy into this whole idea that Penix is going to sit for 3 or 4 years before he plays.
No.
I think Cousins has got 1 year.
He better not get hurt, and he better be ready when the first game comes around because that other guy will be playing.
There's no question. There's no way that you can have Penix on a rookie deal and wait 3 or 4 years to play him. I think Cousins has got 1 year, and then he's out.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that makes sense. And according to Albert Breer, who also wrote a novel on Penix, they fell in love with him big time. And they were like, we have to take him.
Head over heels.
Head over heels. And again, it's one of those picks where if Cousins is gone in a year and they eat some of his money, but Penix turns out to be a stud,
right?
No one's going to care.
Yeah.
Now, if it doesn't work, then Fontenot, it'll be on the Dum Dum poster for sure.
Yeah.
But if I'm Cousins, I'd be super bitter. Because you know as well as I do, if they would have told him when they were trying to sign him, hey, we're going to take Penix, just so you know, but don't be alarmed by that.
Yeah, it's not fair to him at all.
Yeah.
That was terrible. He would have gone somewhere else where he could not have that problem. Somebody looking over his shoulder.
Now, one bright side for Cousins, he will be inducted into, what'd you say, at the Financial Hall of Fame?
The Sports Business Hall of Fame. He's already a member, but if he gets dumped after a year and can go sign another more expensive deal with somebody else, he will definitely be a charter member of the Sports Business Hall of Fame. How much money has that guy made in his career already?
I'll give you the number on career earnings to date.
Okay. I knew you would.
$294 million.
For a guy who's not a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, he's good, but not great. Good for you, partner.
But Hall of Fame sports business, I'll tell you that. He's made some smart deals.
He earned $185 million in his time in Minnesota.
Wow.
All right. We'll come back and we'll take your phone calls. And we might sex you up too. All right, we're both going to hand out our high five to Don in Wilsonville for being able to handle deals and place a phone call to Sports Talk Radio.
I like Bo Nix. I want to let you know I like him, but man, that character of that coach, I think that's going to destroy him.
Hey, put that in your wallet.
Thank you.
125, that's what you said. Yeah. Yeah. So you're good.
There you go. There you go. And that was the end of the phone call right there. Nice work, Don.
Oh, man. And he never called back to clarify that.
No. At first, I thought the guy sounded irritated with him, but I don't think he was. I think he was trying to say, hey, you did your job. Here's your 125 or whatever the deal is. I like that. Nice work, Don. On the fly, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. By the way, I'm more addicted to Bryson DeChambeau today than I was 3 days ago.
Yeah, tell me about this stuff now. What are you watching?
He's got his YouTube channel's phenomenal, but he has this challenge called Break 50, and he's trying to break 50 on the course where he partners up with someone, and they play like a scramble style.
Like a best ball kind of thing?
Yeah, and he's come close. The best I've seen him get to is 50 or 61, but it's just so cool to see him on the course because he plays with someone, and then when he's done, based on what he saw on the course, he will give a lesson. But I love his personality. He's very engaging. He's a phenomenal golfer. Like his level of understanding of the golf game and how to do everything it blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And he even had a challenge with I think his name is Rick Shields, who's a big time golf coach. He's got a great YouTube channel where he could use 3 clubs, and Shields wanted to see if he could beat him: pitching wedge, driver, and putter. And he still won. And he was at such a disadvantage because on the par 3s or some of the par 4s where he couldn't use a driver, he was hitting pitching wedge. And he was chiming in at about 174 to 176 yards when he put full power into it.
On a pitching wedge?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. That's disgusting.
Oh, here's Don in Wilsonville. Let's find out.
Good.
The end of. So here's the call once again from Don when he was on. And this is how it ended. And then Don disappeared. Let's take a listen once again.
I like Bo Nix. I want to let you know I like him, but man, that character of that coach, I think that's going to destroy him.
Hey, put that in your wallet.
Thank you.
125, that's what you said. Yeah. Yeah. So you're good.
All right, let's find out what that was all about. Hey, Don, what was he referencing and what went down there?
I sold him a ladder.
Oh, nice.
A real nice fiberglass double-step ladder.
Gee, you got a pretty good deal for 125, huh?
Nice job.
Yeah, it was a $300 ladder.
All right, so
But
was he happy with the transaction? So he sounded like he was in a good mood. At first, I thought he was mad at you, but he sounded like he was happy there.
well, he was going to use the ladder in his orchard to go up the ladder and go, both sides to trim trees and stuff like that.
There you go. You got to prune those bad boys.
Yeah, what I wanted to say about Sean Payton is that he's been hard on people in the past. He's a micromanager. He's kind of blown up, and he wants things stringently. And like you said, he's done some things in the past. So I hope he's not too hard on Bo Nix. But I think Bo Nix has got a character. He's pretty solid in his faith. I think he's going to be able to handle it.
Bo can handle it.
Yeah, Bo will be fine. Grandfather was a coach, dad was a coach. Most of these players are used to being yelled at by coaches. That's how they grew up.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all right. I'm excited. That Atlanta thing, they could have had a doomsday. Kirk Cousins and a doomsday. What if this guy turns out to be just a one of a kind great receiver, and they're going to talk about it for years?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, I'm excited about that, too. One thing for certain, we know Bo Nix saw with his own eyes, like we all did, if you don't play well, then Sean Payton will undress you on national TV. That's how that goes down.
Yeah, that's the way it works, yeah. Do you think Nike's going to come back with Bo Nose again?
They cannot do anything to take away from the Bo Jackson ad. That was one of the best campaigns of all time.
Yeah, it was. Bo Nose.
That's holy ground. Bo Jackson is holy ground. You can't mess with that.
All right.
Did you like Bo?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Because
What's
the
not
way
to
you
like?
said it, you were like, okay. I was just making sure you're down with Bo.
No, it was a great campaign. And I thought you could piggyback off it a little bit.
Mm.
Like Bo knew or Bo, you could put them together and Bo Jackson saying, this kid's going to be good.
Why don't we let Bo Nix develop into a great quarterback before we start elevating him to the Bo
Oh, that's
Nose
not the way
status?
it's done anymore. No, you can't do that.
Yeah,
You
no,
gotta
I don't think I don't want Bo Nix being associated. But Bo Jackson is like, I put him in rarefied air.
Yeah, of course.
I still can't believe he had a hip replacement and came back and hit a home run for the White Sox.
Yeah.
Spider-Man up a wall. He just did things that were like superhuman. Did you ever see him live in person in baseball?
Yeah, I saw him in both sports live. Yeah, yeah. He was something.
Yeah.
He should have stuck with baseball, really. He would have been healthy. He would have had a great career and probably ended up in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
All right, Preacher, you got the final word on the show, my friend. Fire away.
Well, man, I can only just play the domino game with you guys. Brett Favre showed up in the Atlanta locker room, and they were like, what are you guys doing? They're dancing. And all of a sudden, that coach became the Portland State Vikings coach. Is that correct, Godfather?
Glanville?
You talking about Jerry
I
Glanville?
think so.
Yeah, Glanville
There you
did,
go.
yeah.
He became the coach of
Yeah,
Portland
so
State.
Brett Favre showed up in the Atlanta locker room, and he was preaching like, these guys are insane. They're dancing. It was a crazy locker room, and I don't even know where it's going to go, but, hey, I'll end it on that.
The one story I remember about Jerry Glanville, when he was coaching the Houston Oilers, he got bit by a water moccasin in his backyard. That's not something I want to have happen to me. All right, big thanks to all of our guests today. Big thanks to Don in Wilsonville for wheeling and dealing on the fly. Big thanks to Brandon Cristall, to Flex Cruz, and Brad Botkin. Have a good night, Godfather.
You too.